Good morning, everyone. It's the time of the week, Monday market analysis. And pretty interesting price action, but let's start as usual with the macroeconomics. See what the headlines are. Pre-market looks pretty flat in the US at the moment. So don't think there's any direction to be taken from that. Europe is slightly in the green, but for the rest, I don't think there's much of to do. One interesting thing, sector performance of the last days shows that the tech stocks are bouncing up a bit and the classical minerals and other stuff are down. Usually crypto aligns more with the technology stocks, so that is a good sign. I did not see too many headlines that were very interesting. I just see this one pop up now. Of course, we have Wobi, the biggest Chinese exchange that will kick everyone out in December. So we're just going to see if China will put through with that or if they realize their biggest mistake in history ever. US bond treasury yields starting to drop. We have Fed speeches again. We will see that in a bit. So if the treasury yields drop, it usually means that money is moving back into stocks and crypto. If there's panic, people move to treasury bonds and dollars. That's at least the classical shift in money that you see in important times. As you can hear, just had a bit of a flu. I'm not as energetic as I used to be, so just bear with me on that. So looking at the calendar, durable goods, don't think that will move at least our crypto market a lot. They think it will increase a bit, but if it's really worse, then it might add to the sentiment, but I don't think that's a big market mover. Got some Fed speeches on Tuesday, but nothing in here I think is really important for us in crypto. Nothing on the Wednesday. These are two I always take a good look at. If these are worse than expected, things could definitely move a bit. We got some more speeches, but nothing important will probably be announced. These two are interesting too, the spendings. I think consumer sentiment is usually that not, and manufacturing might be a bit, so we might be in for a rocky Friday, but Friday is usually a time where little investors are active. So if things happen on Friday, you will get what we say a reaction Monday. So next Monday morning in the MMA market, Monday market analysis, we'll definitely look back at these figures and see if we can expect some reactions on that Monday. But for this week, besides the jobless claims on Thursday, I don't think there's much to be said there. So when we look at the fundamentals, we're still on track with my Just moving those old scribbles of mine here. We're pretty much on track with the DXY, the US dollar index. It's still, the head and shoulder formation is still valid. We do get a bit of a bounce here. We had a pretty nasty drop on Thursday after all the meetings. We're now looking at if we get rejected here, if we make a lower high on the daily. It's still my projection, so we'll keep following it. We did have a bit of a pump on Friday and today. Today's yield of 15% for the DXY. That's pretty substantial. But I would be quite surprised if this would jump up in a big pace. So far, projection still valid. Might have to move it one day later. Considering I drew it here, that's not a bad score. If it drops, good for Bitcoin, obviously. Stock markets until Friday looked like a bit of a rebound with a pretty nice gap fill here on the S&P 500. Let's see if it can follow through. So normal correction there, nothing too crazy really. If we look at the weeklies, it's still in a very strong uptrend move there. Same goes for the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq. So no panic there, and as long as the Fed keeps printing what they will do until mid-2022, I'm not that worried about a stock market crash or a crypto crash. So interesting on that is if the stock markets and crypto keeps up until mid-2020, that would mean a bit of a lengthening cycle. So probably end of this year, things are really becoming interesting again. But I will definitely having a close look next year what happens. If we just look at, that's gold still in this trade, nothing much happening there. If we look at the weekly Bitcoin chart, we're still bouncing off this CTO ribbon very nicely. We do have on the weekly chart, we have 30K column pocket, but it has been hit 3 times, so I don't think we will see that again. But obviously, if we look at the last swing high, we have that golden fit pocket at 38K. But so many people are predicting and shouting about that in the recent days, and Bitcoin has a tendency to do exactly the opposite of what everybody expects. So good chance we won't hit this. We did hit a 50% retrace, and in strong bullish conditions, that's often the most deepest retrace that you get. So if we switch to the daily, we might be forming a nice W pattern here. It's a bit messy with the double bottom, but we might get a nice one there. Obviously, we do seem to be in kind of a triangle-ish accumulation, somewhere like this, maybe a bit more shallow. That would point to a breakout, probably begin October. We'll take a look at Bitcoin in more detail in a bit. Market cap, BTC Dominance. It's still pretty much try to break out of this descending channel, but it's still made a nice double bottom on the weekly with a slightly higher low. So let's see if we can break what this week will say for us. If we look at basic TAs, just adding a few more oscillators on that. No, money flow is not working for an index like Dominance. We do have the trend momentum, and money flow is not working because the calculations don't work on a percentage index calculated by TradingView. There's no real money flow to measure. But trend momentum does work. You see that we, on the market hyper, we made a nice trigger wave here, and we're now in a squeeze. Keep in mind, this is the weekly, and trend momentum is in the red, obviously after this leg down, but the momentum was very weak. So we almost had a class B bullish divergence with identical lows. Let's see, the low here was 39.66, the low here 39.92. So I think it's pretty safe to consider this one equal in price, and the oscillator has a much higher low, so that should become a nice bullish divergence there. Class B, so less strong, but looks good. Same on the market hyper. Things are in the red now, but we did have a trigger wave because of the 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks pretty down, flat. Looking at this, it seems logical that Bitcoin Dominance will take a nice kick up in short time. So no alt season. Of course, if Bitcoin goes up, the alts go up too, but I think Bitcoin in the short coming weeks will outperform the alts. Volatility still pretty low, not much happening there. The whales on Bitfinex, not much movement. Some longs were taking profit, but no weird spikes. The shorts are pretty much flattened down also. Total market cap, we're still on track with that major cup and handle formation that we identified last week. Might be a bit more sense to probably a bit more like this. We did bounce off this support resistance zone that aligns with May's peaks, the 3 peaks of May that we tested here. After breaking out, we back tested it and we jumped up. We back tested it here, and now we're in this, hitting this confluence zone of the pretty much head and shoulder formation that we have there. So we have this one. So we had a bit of a head and shoulder formation here. It broke out pretty much. We made the measured move down to this support zone and bounced up. Still looking great as long as we don't break this pretty much that 1.7 to 1.8 trillion. This pattern is not really invalidated. Would be nice if we starting to move back into this big 2 trillion to the 2 trillion market cap zone and break out to the upside. If we do measured move of this pretty much year-long cup and handle formation is insanely high. Just quickly looking at the Fibonacci guns, we bounced off this major gun support like I think I mentioned it yesterday, just before the weekend, we have to avoid this fit crossing. We will probably dive under it or jump over it. We dove under, exactly bounced off this support zone. We broke out, backtested it, and are now pushing this yellow line that comes from all the way of June. Let's see if we break it. I will post some targets later. Pretty much this is the big trend line to break this double again zone, and we have this one that I mentioned before. Nice triangle. Let's hopefully we follow this again up and break out. So I think low term trend line, as we don't break it, we should go higher. 45K is my target, and I think that's what I'm going to keep at it for now, with the fluish energy level still being a bit low. So I'm going to post some targets and drawings in a bit, and we will follow up later. Just look at the chat. Little bull flag on the 1 hour. Yeah, could be a bit long. Usually the pole is longer than the flag, but it is bouncing, so could definitely be something like that. Well, thanks guys. I'll post this and I add some targets once I got a bit of energy back. Thanks for being here, and see you all in the channels. Bye-bye.